Global warming and rising average temperatures. Let's imagine that the Earth is like a big pot of soup. When we add more wood to the fire, the heat increases and the soup begins to boil. Something similar is happening to our planet. But instead of wood, we have special gases in the air called greenhouse gases that are causing the planet to heat up. These gases are released when we use fossil fuels, such as oil and coal, to generate energy, drive our cars, and even produce the products we use every day. They include gases like carbon dioxide, CO2, and methane, CH4, which are accumulating more and more in the atmosphere. These gases act like a giant blanket that wraps around the planet. Normally, some of the heat that the Earth receives from the sun is reflected back into space. But with this blanket of gases, the heat gets trapped and can't escape. This causes the planet's temperature to rise slowly but steadily. This increase may seem small at first, but over time, even a rise of 1 degrees or 2 degrees C can make a big difference. Now, think about the impact of this. If this continues, the Earth could get so hot that some parts of the world will begin to feel like true ovens. Places that once had pleasant climates may face unbearable heat waves. What used to be a cool breeze could turn into hot gusts of wind, and even the beaches we like to visit could become uncomfortable to enjoy. Imagine a summer day where, instead of cooling off at the beach, the heat is so intense that it's hard even to be outside. But it's not just people who feel the effects. Plants and animals are also affected. Some plant species that need cooler temperatures may not survive in areas that get warmer. Animals that live in specific regions may struggle to find food or shelter because the environment they are used to starts to change. This can lead to the extinction of various species, which affects the entire ecosystem. And what does this mean for us humans? It means that summers will get longer and hotter, and we may have to prepare for more extreme temperatures. Heat waves may become more frequent and intense, making outdoor activities harder and even impacting people's health. Moreover, climate change could alter how we grow our food, since many crops can't thrive in excessively high temperatures or without enough water. The good news is that we still have a chance to make a difference. If we take care of the planet and find ways to reduce the amount of these gases in the atmosphere, we can prevent global warming from getting worse. Simple things like using fewer cars, saving energy, and planting more trees can make a big difference because trees absorb carbon dioxide from the air, helping to reduce the greenhouse effect. We can also support the use of renewable energy sources like solar and wind, which don't release these gases into the atmosphere. After all, no one wants to live in a boiling pot of soup, right? If we work together to protect the planet, there's still time to ensure it remains a good place to live, without unbearable temperatures and with plenty of trees, plants, and animals to share the world with us. Rising sea levels. Now imagine you're building a sandcastle on the beach. Everything is going great until the waves start to get closer, and suddenly your castle begins to be washed away by the water. Something similar is happening to many cities around the world, but instead of a small wave, the sea level is rising slowly, like a tide that keeps getting higher and higher. This is happening because the ice that exists at the poles, like the ice in Antarctica and the Arctic, is melting faster due to the planet's warming. And when this ice melts, all that water flows into the oceans, making them fuller. The problem is that if the oceans continue to rise, cities near the sea, like the beaches we love to play on, may be flooded. This means that some people who live in these areas may have to move, as if the sea is stealing the places where they live. But the good news is that if we take care of the planet now, by planting more trees, saving energy, and using less plastic, we can slow down the melting of the ice and keep the oceans more under control, preventing these giant waves from washing away our beaches and cities. More frequent extreme weather events. When the planet gets hotter, the weather begins to change in powerful ways. Scientists are noticing that with global warming, storms, hurricanes, droughts, and heat waves are happening more often and becoming more intense. This means that instead of having a storm or hurricane once in a while, these events could start to happen more frequently, causing many problems. For example, heat waves can be so intense that it becomes difficult even to go outside. Droughts, which are periods without rain, can cause plants and animals to have less water and food. And storms, like hurricanes and cyclones, can become more destructive, causing floods and destroying homes. These extreme weather events are dangerous because they can affect people, animals, and even the crops that provide us with food. That's why scientists are always studying the climate to better understand how we can prepare and prevent these problems from getting worse. Impacts on biodiversity and species extinction. Have you ever imagined if, all of a sudden, many of the animals and plants we know started to disappear? This could happen because of climate change. As the planet gets warmer, many animals and plants can't adapt to these new conditions, and this could lead some species to disappear forever. For example, polar bears live in very cold places and depend on ice to hunt. With the melting glaciers, they are losing their homes and food sources. Additionally, some plants that need specific temperatures to grow may not survive, which affects the entire ecosystem around them. When one species disappears, it affects all the others that depend on it. It's like a chain. If one link breaks, the rest gets weaker. Losing these species means losing part of our natural world, and that's very sad because the planet becomes less diverse and less healthy. That's why protecting the environment and fighting climate change is so important. We need to ensure that all animals and plants have a chance to survive and continue to be part of our world. Changes in agricultural cycles and food production. Climate change is directly affecting agriculture, which is how we grow food. With rising temperatures, rainfall is becoming less predictable, and in some regions, droughts are lasting longer. This makes it harder to plant and harvest crops like corn, wheat, and rice, which are essential for feeding many people around the world. Moreover, extreme events like floods and storms can destroy entire crops, further reducing food production. These climate changes also affect the soil, which can become less fertile, hindering plant growth. All of this can lead to food shortages, increased prices, and make it harder for people in some regions, especially poorer ones, to access food. That's why scientists are looking for solutions to make agriculture more resilient to climate change, ensuring that people continue to have enough food. Arctic melting and changes in ocean currents. The melting of ice in the Arctic, caused by global warming, is happening faster than scientists predicted. This not only contributes to rising sea levels, but also alters ocean currents that help regulate the climate in many parts of the world. One of these currents is the Gulf Stream, which transports warm water north, warming regions of Europe. With the melting of the ice, ocean currents could slow down or change course, causing unexpected climate changes. For example, while some regions may get warmer, others may have colder and longer winters, even with global warming happening. These changes in ocean current patterns affect not only the climate, but also marine life, as many animals depend on these currents to move and find food. It's a cycle that, once disrupted, can have global impacts on the climate and ecosystems. Socio-economic impacts and climate inequality. Climate change affects everyone, but not everyone is impacted equally. The poorest and most vulnerable populations, especially in developing countries, are the ones who suffer the most. They have fewer resources to deal with natural disasters like floods, droughts, and storms, and often depend on activities like agriculture, which are heavily affected by the climate. These populations may also be forced to migrate from their homes, whether because of rising sea levels or a lack of water and food. This creates new social and economic tensions, as these people often need to find shelter and work in other regions, which can lead to conflicts and economic difficulties. Additionally, richer countries have more resources to adapt to climate change, investing in technologies and infrastructure that help mitigate the impacts. This creates a significant inequality, as the nations that contributed the least to climate change are often the ones that suffer the most from its effects. Addressing these inequalities requires international cooperation and policies that help vulnerable regions prepare for future challenges. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.